I always say, and I would hope that more people in the realm of psychotherapy that put together, what the idea of psychotherapy is, start to realize that it's not just about talk therapy, which is, been the predominant thing in therapy in general, that expressive arts is really the original psychotherapy. And it's practices that emerged as rituals, spiritual traditions, procedures, ceremonies, and they were often in direct response to trauma and loss. And the reason I'm bringing this up is I always like to start with this idea to respect the fact that cultures around the world still continue these, but they're the ones that came up with these things. Humans have been doing this for thousands of years. And I always say, speaking even to people who are largely a neuroscience audience, doctors and psychiatrists, that yes, the neuroscience is so helpful in telling us what's important about these approaches. But there's thousands of years of evidence that are based on human experiences that the arts have helped us return to psychological, physical, and social equilibrium. I'm just going to run this through one more time here because I wanted to point out a couple of things here that were more active on the film. Because now here's the idea of movement. People around the world still do this. We don't just do it to perform and entertain people. We're also doing it to be in synchrony and rhythm with each other. Rhythmic entrainment, synchrony, being in community together. These are all things that help us feel more safe in our bodies, make us have a sense of belonging. But we can't just talk about these things. We need to do them together. I still say, I'm going to be cheeky and say, original psychotherapy was long before 150 or 170 years ago when talk therapy started to become a thing. We've kind of forgotten that this is really the original way of working through things and making changes in our bodies to help us feel more enlivened, more self-agency, mastery, confidence to address the trauma that we might be experiencing or undergo. So I just want to also say this because we're talking about this, the title, of the series you're involved in, which is, this wisdom circle, trauma wisdom circle. These are the original trauma wisdom circles still going on around the world and have gone on for many, many, thousands of years. Core form of reparation and restoration. So, again, people doing Tai Chi, which still goes on in China, and there's a lot more to it than I can describe right here, but doing that work together in a circle of wisdom and listening to wisdom of people within that circle, usually the elders or the aunties. And, people singing together. These are all things that we do for a lot of different reasons, but part of it's all this restoration and repair to be able to do these things together. So really is this original wisdom tradition that goes far, again, beyond where we've evolved to with all our different wonderful practices that have been tested out and have a lot of evidence. Cognitive behavioral therapy and all kinds of different, therapies have evidence, but this is really the original wisdom tradition to get together and be in synchrony and rhythm and connectedness with each other through the senses in some way. Again, want to respect the cultural and indigenous traditions of the world for thousands of years. These things really boil down into 4 different areas, and they're healing practices that we see around the world still, and we can use them in our work. And we've come up with a lot of ways, in mental health to be able to take these traditions and working with traumatic stress, for example, distress and stress itself. So they kind of fall down into these 4 different categories here. And again, I want to respect the indigenous and cultural communities of the world for this, because they're about moving the body in some way, experiencing rhythm, experiencing attunement with each other and synchrony, in our movements together, being in this, I always say, being in the same rhythm together, and whatever it is, hopefully a good rhythm together. Sound, making sounds, hearing sounds, experiencing rhythm and entrainment. And that's another basic one. Storytelling, you just talked about that with the yarning and their Aboriginal communities and around the world. We all have those kinds of things, even in modern mental health, sitting around and being able to share and be witnessed. But we also tell stories through image making, through enactment, and through our playfulness as well.